Hello RiftGuides enjoyers and welcome back to new RiftGuides WildRift video, and for today we are going to take a look at the 3.3a patch and we'll give it a quick rundown. Make a Splash 3.3a is here. In 3.3 we made some big changes across the board with ultimate cooldown reductions to nearly every champion, elemental rift and the addition of 3 new enchantments, so this patch we have a few adjustments and tweaks after assessing some of the data and general feedback we've received. We'll continue to keep a close eye on how these changes impact gameplay in the coming weeks. Before we go, you'll be left powerless and void of thoughts with Kassadin. The Voidwalker emerges onto Rift in 3.3a. And of course, Riot provides us with a little bit of lore in the introduction. Cutting a burning swath through the darkest places of the world, Kassadin knows his days are numbered. A widely traveled Shuriman guide and the adventurer, he had chosen to raise a family among the peaceful southern tribes. Until the day his village was consumed by the void, he vowed vengeance, combining a number of arcane artifacts and forbidden technologies for the struggle ahead. Finally, Kassadin set out for the wastelands of Acacia, ready to face any monstrous void construct in his search for the self-proclaimed prophet, Malzahar. And Kassadin will be released on the 29th of July. And of course, with the Kassadin release we also get an event. What's Kassadin's favorite color? Purple maybe? Honestly, we are not so sure. The Kassadin's trivia event begins at the 5th of August. And hand in hand to Wonderland, we go with another event, the Pool Party 2022 event. Grab your sunnies, dive and make a splash in this bash. The Pool Party event begins at the 12th of August. And now let's move over to the champion changes. First up we have a Draven nerf. Our recent systemic changes in addition to the buff we gave Draven has put him over the top. We like some of the power his recent changes gave him, so instead of axing it, we're going to cut back on some of the damage spinning axes grant. So Draven loses 10% bonus attack damage ratio on his first ability, which in my opinion doesn't really make too much sense because the champion needs to win lane to be remotely relevant. If he doesn't win lane, he's just useless. So this change is not going to change too much because in the matchup he's winning, he's already winning, and the matchups that are unplayable are just unplayable as per usual. So it's just a little bit of a copium nerf to change his play rate. However, the next change is a little bit more significant for the jungle role. While Echo has been succeeding in the jungle, the same performance isn't echoing over into the mid lane. To balance out his power in both of these roles, we're reducing how quickly he clears jungle camps and the mana cost of Timewinder so that Echo can more efficiently harass enemy champions during the early laning phase. His passive's bonus damage goes down from 150% to monsters to 120%, and his Timewinder's mana cost goes down by 10. So let's talk about the jungle changes. Perhaps this might be a big difference in terms of jungle clear. I need to see it for myself to see how much of a difference it makes, because jungle and WildRift is a bit special because you get away with everything in solo queue as per usual. But the mana change on the first ability doesn't really make any sense, because when did Echo ever run out of mana? I've never seen that happen. Unless we're at a point where he has enough cooldown reduction to just spam spells on cooldown. But for the early laning phase it doesn't really make a difference, does it? So it's just a straight up jungle nerf while not doing anything for him in lane, because what does it change? Nothing. The next buff seems to be closely related to the Hullbreaker changes. Jace hasn't performed that well outside of higher levels of play. To make Piltover's finest and more approachable, we're cautiously giving him a little bit of extra scaling on his attack damage. So as a consequence, his first ability on both forms gains 10% more bonus attack damage scaling. So let me quickly give you the rundown. Jace as a champion isn't designed for low elo. He's too complex and has too many things to take note of and actually perform well on for this champion to be executed to a level where he's super efficient. However, if you're good on this champion, it's batshit broken. It's just how it is, there's just no way around it. So as a fact, this change is just a big buff for high elo players, whereas in low elo it just doesn't do anything. You'll still just die because you don't understand the concept of why and how to pilot Jace. And you can't just do this or fix this by doing such a thing like this, it just doesn't make sense to me. The next change we are seeing comes to Pyke. Despite players climbing his mastery curve, Pyke isn't performing as well as we'd like to see in the support role. We're giving him some leeway to take some extra damage here and there, particularly in the support role. Given his performance in other roles, we're also cutting back on his ability to clear waves and jungle camps as easily as he can do now. So base stats, we see a health growth from 115 to 125 per level, a change to his passive, the Gift of the Drowned Ones, that the Grey Health storage when 2 or more enemy champions are nearby goes up from 35% of damage suffered to 45% of the damage suffered. The next thing is a change to the Phantom Undertow, third ability, that only deals 25% damage to minions and monsters, and fourth we have a change to Death from Below. The skill's description has been modified to provide better clarification of the cut granted to Pyke and his allies. So this is straight up a nerf to Pyke in the jungle and the mid lane and maybe even in the Baron lane, it depends on where you want to play him. But yet again, this champion has one problem. If you make an error, you just immediately die, and that's just how it goes. So even if you rush Yomos into Death's Dance, you are still very squishy in most situations, even when running Triumph. Your champion is a streaking champion, so you need to be very patient and very good at what you're doing, because the moment you make a mistake, as I mentioned before, you will die and therefore all your impact will be lost. Therefore this champion is very likely a one-trick champion, which means you need to play this champion a lot, and by a lot I mean a lot, while also being good at the game generally to make this champion work. Therefore the changes, I don't think it doesn't do too much outside of actually nerfing lane Pyke, but on the other hand, any buff to already a one-trick champion is quite huge for the one-tricks themselves because they will put it to good use. Next up, the change list is Renekton. Over the course of the last few patches, Renekton has been struggling to navigate his path around the Baron lane, so we're giving him some extra scaling offensively and defensively to help him out. His Kaldemik healing bonus attack damage ratio per enemy hit goes up from 8% to 10%, and the Ruthless Predator's base damage per strike goes up from 10 to the later stages of 40 at highest level to 55 at the highest level. The normal total attack damage or base damage goes up from 80 therefore to 110, and the enhanced bonus damage to 120 to 165, which is quite the nice buff, but yet again I don't really understand why they're buffing Renekton because the champion is fine. It just depends on how you play the lane and how you understand how to play the lane. But a nerf that every one of us wanted to see is a Sinnr nerf, because this champion is, contrary to public belief, unbelievably broken, and it's just a player problem that they can't make her work because they build terrible items, have no concept of spacing, and just don't understand what the champion does, but the champion in itself is broken. So, Sinnr has been a dominant force in organized play and a powerful champion ranked for nearly her entire lifetime in WildRift, so we are reassessing some of the strength and weaknesses in her arsenal. We're cutting back on her ability to deal sustained damage in the later stages of the game and the power and short trades to limit her ability to masquerade as a full 80 crit carry without building any attack speed or crit. So in base stats we lose 2.2% per level to 1.2% per level, and her passive the Absolution gets changed. The missed trigger damage goes down from 1.6 to 16% of current health to 1.2 to 12% of current health. So this doesn't really tackle anything of a Sinnr lane, and Sinnr lanes are usually very overbearing, so she gets to snowball freely. But in the later stages we'll see that she'll have maybe some attack speed issues, because this is a sizable nerf in terms of attack speed if you go throughout the game, and the bonus damage on the current health is also quite sizable if you think about the stages of the game where this gets into effect, because 4% at the highest level of a champion actually is a big difference. But I don't think it will push her out of her power position at all. Next up on the list is Shen. The champion ultimate cooldown reduction changes in patch 3.3 have favored Shen more than we expected, making him one of the most powerful champions on the Rift. To restore balance back to the Baron lane, we are pulling back on his overall dueling potential. As a consequence, his passive the Key Barrier shield goes down from 60 to 51, and on the highest level from 109 to 100. Next up is the first ability. The enhanced maximum health ratio goes down to 5.5 to 5%, so a 0.5% nerf per level. But it doesn't really change too much, does it? It's just a little copium nerf yet again that, what does it do? It will just influence the play rate and maybe change some super close matchups, but this champion overall will still be a super powerful staple in professional play just due to what he does and how powerful he is. Just being able to rotate around the map and have a solid lane against a lot of champions make him a powerful staple for solo queue, competitive play and anything you want. Oh, thank the lords, finally another Sona nerf, because this champion gets away with too much due to the skill issue in solo queue. The recent systemic changes have been extremely favorable for Sona, so we are lowering the volume on some of her scaling power before she reaches a crescendo. The shielding of the Aria of Perseverance goes down in this instance, and the ultimate ability, basic ability cooldown reduction, also goes down by 10% on the highest level. So overall this is a nice change because Sona is spamming everything she has, but on the other hand, is it really going to be enough to put her out of the spot she's in? Against bad players she just gets away with everything, and in the right spots she's very overbearing because you just can't kill a team. So in this instance it's not gonna change a lot, but it's gonna influence her play rate once again because it's the label of a nerf champion, and nerf champions are usually not that often played. But late game 30 shield is quite nice, so here we are. And our next champion on the nerf chopping block is Soraka. Soraka is one of the champions that benefited the most from our ultimate cooldown reduction last patch, especially for her tanky builds that lean heavily on Wish's base values. We are going to shift some of the power into ability power ratio to make sure Soraka is rewarded for building magic damage. The Wish base heal goes down by 50 on the highest level, but gets a plus 5% AP scaling. I think if they approach it from this angle, they should have given it a higher AP scaling and not just plus 5, let's be honest. But the change is warranted because yet again, people get away with everything playing those champions Soraka and Sinnr because people refuse to buy anti-heal and punish them in lane or anything, it's just how it goes. However, the next change is gonna make all of you super happy, because yet again it's a nerf label, and the nerf label means the champion is less played, and it's Yasuo. Yasuo's ability to take fast trades in lane and shrug off chip damage in the later stages of the game is stronger than we'd like, so we're cutting down on the strength and duration of his passive shield. The Way of the Wanderer's passive shield, 100 to 520, goes down to 100 and 485, and the shield duration goes down from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. This actually messes a lot with trading patterns in lane, which yet again makes it easier for people to punish Yasuo when he's trying to go for a play, cause now, keep in mind you have to wait 2 seconds before you actually deal damage to him because of the shield, but now it's only 1.5 seconds, which really messes with everything he can do in lane and actually gives way more room to punish him. And that's it for the champion changes. Now we move over to the item changes, and God praise everyone and bless the Lord, we are finally seeing changes to Black Cleaver, Death Stance and Divine Sinnr, the holy trifecta of brokenness. Will it be enough? I don't think so, but let's quickly go over them. Black Cleaver has solid stats all around, but recently it's been purchased too frequently and is starting to become an item that is purchasable by any attack damage champion. To combat this, we are making it more difficult to stack it up to push it more towards excelling in sustained combat and multi-hit spells. The armor reduction per stack goes down from 5% to 4%, and the maximum stacks goes up from 5 to 6. So this change is you just take longer to stack it up. But we just need to think about the bigger picture here, not just the isolated item, so we immediately move over to the other item, the Death Stance. Death Stance has a lot of power and has been frustrating for fighters recently. We're looking to bring down some of that frustration by reducing the snowballing power of its takedown heal. The heal on takedown goes down from 15% of maximum health to 10% of maximum health. This is probably one of the best changes you could think of because it's actually broken, but we just move over to the next item to just get the full picture. The Divine Sinnr. Divine Sinnr has been outperforming its alternatives, especially as an early game pick, so we're increasing its cost to bring it more in line with other items like Trinity Force. As a consequence, the total gold cost goes up from 3,300 to 3,450. Let's just be honest, all of these 3 items are broken and need a nerf. The Divine Sinnr change doesn't change anything. The Black Cleaver change doesn't change anything. The Death Stance change changes something. So it's a little less overbearing, but even if you combine all those nerfs combined, what is gonna change? If they get 1 kill with those items, or if they reach this item threshold, which will be slightly delayed now, they'll stomp you into oblivion. So I don't think those nerfs are enough, even though the approach for the Death Stance is a good one. And the last item change we have is Staff of Flowing Water. Staff of Flowing Water is powerful for champions that can keep consistently the buff up, but not as strong for enchanters with longer cooldowns. We are slightly decreasing the power of the buff while increasing its duration so that Staff's power will be more equal between enchanters. The buff's duration goes up from 4 to 6 seconds, and the ability as granted by the buff goes down from 20 to 15. So this looks like a quite severe change for Nami, because Nami suffers the most in terms of having high cooldowns. And oh my, we actually have a rune change, the Domination Tree Scorch. As an early game rune, Scorch has been slightly underperforming, so as a small boost to its base damage should help it shine as a clear powerhouse for lane dominance. Oh really, you think so? I don't believe so, because what does this change compare to having Triumph in your tree, or anything other like Triumph? Like, how little does it do in lane compared to other things? I mean, sure, you can go Electrocute and Scorch and flip the lane and pray for the best, but is it gonna change anything? We'll see, because laning in this game is just a joke because you can nearly always reset without losing anything. Funny, isn't it? And last but not least, let's go over the cosmetics, the skins. On the 29th of July, we'll get the Harbinger Kassadin, and the Warring Kingdoms Jarvan and Katarina. On the 5th of August, we finally get the Godfizzly Sin, so get the wallets ready. On the 11th of August, we get the Beekeeper Singed. And on the 12th of August, we get Pool Party Caitlyn, Graves, Mundo, and Ziggs, so be ready. To finally complete everything in the video, let's quickly talk about the free-to-play rotation. From the 28th of July to the 3rd of August, we get Corki, Dr. Mundo, Gragas, Graves, Kale, Leona, Lulu, Tristana, Twisted Fate, and Yasuo. From the 4th of August to the 10th of August, we get Draven, Echo, Fiora, Janna, Kai'Sa, Katarina, Morgana, Nunu, Willem, Olaf, and Tryndamere. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, and come back for more. And we also get a crab emote. Pog.